This is the Extensionists, Conversations with Great Thinkers in Agriculture. I'm Toban Dyck.
And I'm Jay Whetter. Hey, Toban.
Hey, Jay.
You were in Banff recently.
What
were you doing there?
It was great. So I was like, after lots of work travel, my team at Burr Forest is like, you can't bring your laptop. Don't do any work. I told them that I was going to bring my laptop and that I would be doing some work because I always take video and photos wherever I go, and that's how I process them on my laptop. Plus, I actually had a couple meetings that I did attend, which was fine. But it was lovely. We stayed at the same lodge I stayed at when I attended Prairie Cereals Summit, and I wanted to come back because every room at this lodge, which is it's a very modest lodge, it's not anything high end, but every room has its own wood burning fireplace, and it's a really cozy environment to just hang out in.
Yeah,
like you don't typically get that in hotel rooms, so it's just really nice. Like we hiked. Didn't do any downhill intentionally. We weren't planning on it, but we rented cross-country skis for the duration of our stay. So we just had them in our room, so we could just pick up and go to trails that were within walking, or we took the public transit, the bus, which was fun too. And we had a lovely time. Like it was one of those truly kind of recharging holidays. Yeah,
I like Banff. People say it's crowded, but I don't know. When I go to Banff, I just feel like I'm in holiday mode. Even if I'm going there for a conference, it feels like holiday mode. I really love the vibe there.
Yeah. I would say my vibe for Banff has changed. I used to be of the mind that I didn't like it, that it was too crowded, but I liked it because the lodge was just outside of town. Okay. And so like a kilometer, but so you could walk easy. The bus was super convenient from the lodge. And like, as long as I found like we didn't go into any stores really. We just did restaurants. Yeah. And that was a great way to experience Banff. Like the food was awesome.
And all the servers are Australians.
A lot of Australians.
A lot of
them are. UK.
UK now too? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Branching out.
Yeah, for sure. And a few, we had two servers who were from Winnipeg.
Oh, really?
Originally.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Very good.
But no, it was great. What did you do? Did you do anything spring break?
No, my kids are older, so they're not in school. So spring break isn't really a thing that's in my mind anymore. So
right,
yeah, and so Jamie being a teacher, obviously it was a spring breaky kind of thing for you guys, but
for sure, yeah. And your last work trip was Alberta?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Edmonton. Oh, so I went to question period in Edmonton.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, as part of the Alberta Canola Leaders event.
So, did you take the whole crew then?
I just tagged along. They organized it all and said, we're going to question period. And I said, yeah, definitely, I'm in for sure. So it was Danielle Smith and then Naheed Nenshi. So it was two big heavyweights in certainly in Alberta politics, but well-known names around Canada now.
For sure.
And then, so then I was thinking to myself, man, I've never been to Manitoba's question period. I've been to Ottawa's about 10 times. So I went to Manitoba question period the next week.
Did you?
Yeah, it was great.
That's so good.
Yeah, and so there was Wild Canoe on one side and then Obicon on the other.
Yeah.
So the leaders squaring off. And mostly a full, like packed house in Alberta. I think we went on the right day. And then Manitoba was, I think there's a few missing, but otherwise quite full. But sometimes in Ottawa, if it's not Wednesday, I think everybody shows up on Wednesdays. Other days it can be really thin on numbers. So try to go on a Wednesday. Anyway, lots of fun. I'd highly recommend it. Just check in with your MLA and they'll put you on the list and just go watch question period.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's a worthwhile experience just to see how the sausage is made, how that machinery works. It's both kind of enlightening and discouraging, and it's all of the things, right? Like it's a range of emotions.
Well, if you're into communications, you either get some tips on what not to do, or in some cases, you might get some tips on what to do. But mostly, it's what not to do.
It is. What stood out is it's amazing what is said in that environment. Good. I mean, well, mostly bad. It's amazing how how they'll go personal.
Yeah.
Like they cut deep.
Yeah, and they're not really supposed to be personal.
No.
It's supposed to be politics. But yeah, sometimes they let stuff slip and it comes back to bite them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but valuable experience. I've never done it. I've only done it in Manitoba and Ottawa. I've never done it in any of the other provinces.
Yeah.
That'd be, especially in Alberta.
So you have done Manitoba, eh? Yeah.
It's been a long time, but I have
Yeah.
done it. Yeah.
I've been through the building a few times on tours, but that was the first question period time. All these legislative buildings are also very beautiful.
Yeah.
It's worth just getting in there and experiencing it that way. Anyway, should we get on with Patti Durand?
I feel like we should.
Alrighty.
Thank you to our episode sponsor, Manitoba Pulse and Soybean Growers.
Manitoba Pulse and Soybean Growers is proud to support the Pulse Root Rot Network. It's a collaborative approach to root rot research and management for peas and lentils in Western Canada. The website provides agronomy recommendations, information on breeding efforts, and background information on pathology to help increase your knowledge of the root rot diseases that could affect your farm's bottom line. Visit rootrot.ca to find out more.
Our guest today is Patti Durand, and Patti and I we met 40 years ago,
plus or minus, yeah.
But just reconnected within the past year, which has been great. Anyway, Patti is an author and facilitator with Brightrack Consulting, which is her business based out of Humboldt, Saskatchewan, and does a lot of work across the prairies, helping farm families communicate, etc. Right, Patti?
Truly.
Yeah, correct.
Pretty accurate.
Feel free to correct Jay. He gets it wrong all the time. So,
Well, you know what? I actually have a hard time describing what it is I do at times because it depends.
Well, that's a really good conversation topic. Anyway, yeah, continue.
Yeah.
The title of what I do, it depends on what the particular situation requires or needs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to be flexible and open, and I keep learning.
All right. So how would you describe, okay, you said it's flexible and it always changes. So how would you describe what you're doing right now today?
Yeah, given this context.
Yeah. So I mean, I did give that description as author and facilitator. At times I like to think about it. I'm a strategic action planner. I help people to flush out and express what it is they're trying to accomplish. And this goes for each of the people around the table, which often has not been verbalized. And I want to set up things that allow them to be prone to action. So part of the challenge is paralysis of inaction that just pushes pretty important things down the road.
So, and that could be anything. Is there like a range of topics, or is it just like, what is the scope of that?
Yeah, you know what? I would say I would describe it as if there is a family that is feeling stuck, they're feeling an urgency to make a decision and ill-equipped to do so, and they know they haven't done it in a family business in particular. That is where I can help to do some triage and discovery and flesh out the missing information that they need to find in order to be qualified to make that decision.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things I want to talk to you about
You're
that I
making some
can't
notes?
because we're being recorded. Yeah.
Okay.
Just kidding.
All of a sudden it becomes like a family counseling session.
Yeah, exactly. I have some very specific questions for you, Patti. Yeah.
No, you know what? I wish I could say it was special. It's incredibly common. It is the human condition in the intersection of family dynamics and business.
Oh yeah.
And so it is most often shows up in a request about some support with transition or succession planning. But as a former colleague of mine described it well, that is a socially acceptable umbrella to ask for help with. And then once you get to the table, there's layer after layer after layer of unspoken or hurt or hope or uncertainty, et cetera, that shows up.
So what's the toe in the door situation, or what is the thing that gets the conversation going, and then you sort of unwrap those layers?
I think, oh gracious, it varies. In my process, so if we've agreed Everybody wants to be part of this conversation, because that is one rule I would have, is that I
Everybody.
can't make someone care about this.
Yeah.
And so I can open doors, I plant seeds, but they have to have a desire to want to try to adjust, change, move from where they are. And so family members around the table, the very first thing I ask is, why'd you show up? Why is this important to you? And so frequently, it is, I'm uncomfortable. I feel an urgency. I don't know. I think we need a plan, but we don't have one. Which is probably as many times as that is because mom asked me to, because my sister asked me to. And my pushback in that realm is there's a lack of understanding of everybody's participation and responsibility to understand the situation and opportunity to collaborate towards an aligned outcome. And when someone, I've even sat across from like a 69-year-old farmer, he's like, I was here because I was told to be here. I'm like, listen, buddy. Listen, sir, you have a multi-million-dollar operation and no plan.
Yeah.
How do you imagine that's going to go? I believe that you have this opportunity, but also responsibility to lay a path. You might not know what it is, but take some leadership here. And so sometimes we sit.
Yeah. I think like an FAQ page from you, Patti, would be probably very interesting. Like what are the frequently asked questions? But just off the top of your head, what are some of the common challenges that you face, that you see?
So there are some universal things. So at this point, I've worked with over 400 families, which has been just an incredible opportunity to genuinely see a huge spectrum of situations.
For sure.
But then also pull on the common threads. It's like, wait a minute, like this is actually happening on repeat. And it doesn't matter how big their farm is, how small it is, how much debt they have, how little debt they have, how much money they have fallen out of their pockets, how educated they are, how urban, rural, all these factors that I imagined would have influenced it. It doesn't play favorites. And so the common things, parents frequently feel that it is their responsibility to come up with a plan. And simultaneously, their children, their heirs, believe that there is a plan that their parents will reveal when the time comes.
I can see that. That's interesting.
Which is super vulnerable.
It is.
Because does it actually make sense that these people have to come up with a plan that their kids are going to have to live with? And would it not make sense that their heirs would participate and their successors would have a role in that? Simultaneously, parents do have the intention. They genuinely want to have succession transition happen successfully, but intention is not a plan. And the heirs and successors putting that level of trust in their parents and the owner generation and the founder generation is super vulnerable when that successor gets to be, 30, 40, 50, and they realize there actually is no plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to sound like a real naive question, probably, but I don't get why it's so hard.
Oh, Jay, come on. No, I'm just kidding.
Why is like a business succession plan, a family plan, like it should be easier, shouldn't it?
You would hope, and I think we're getting better. First of all, that there's an awareness that there's value in doing so. And so, but that's been a seed that's been planted for a long time. Like I know in my own research, talking to just one-on-one with Merle Good, who was a long-time extension specialist out of Alberta agriculture. The first program that he was aware of that he could recall that they put together around succession was in 1972. That's a long time. And we really doesn't feel like we've made that very much progress in terms of the nature of the behavior. So why is it so hard? Number one, many founders got really, really good and were successful through micromanaging and doing all the things. And they really like it. And so the thought of passing that on and having trust that someone would be able to do it as well as they did can be a hurdle at times. There was also a period of time within the last 30 years where the person who stayed at the farm, like they were the one who drew the short straw. Like it was not a desirable, like, sorry, buddy, you have to stay on the farm. Oh, it was a punishment. It wasn't a reward. And that's evolved. And so there's dynamics in the value of these assets, in the opportunity, in the profitability, plus how long people are living, that has drastically cranked the dials on the factors at play and the complexities. But most critical, sorry, I'm not going to finish. I'm not going to, I'm sorry, this one more thing. I think often about this three-legged stool, if you were to use this as an analogy, the operational efficiency side of this leg of the stool in agriculture has just been getting stronger and stronger. Technology adoption, innovation, so many good things. And management, that leg of the stool has continued to strengthen as well. It's a little bit behind, but it's coming along. There's a lot of things that are really thoughtful and strategic and set up in such a way to be really profitable and rewarding. But I would say the communication leg of the stool in that same period of time, I would argue, is getting shorter. We're not even actually talking to each other anymore. We're texting. And as we know, words get autocorrect is helping, and it gets misconstrued, and we fail to even have the conversation. And so I believe firmly that these are caring, intelligent, experienced people who have never had this conversation and are afraid to do so for good reason, because there's vulnerability and baggage and trauma and intergenerational tensions and sensitivity that can just be landmines. And so it doesn't happen.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, obviously big businesses, accounting wise, legal wise, that it's complex. So it's not easy for those reasons. But I mean, just starting, what I mean by the easy part, and then obviously it isn't the way you've answered it, but like just saying, okay, we need family. We need to have a talk about succession. And then, I mean, then what goes from there can be challenging. But why is it so hard to start the conversation? That's what, and again, you've more or less answered that. There's
so
yeah.
I'm gonna try not to get mad at you, Jen. No, I'm just kidding. You're just asking questions.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
I know.
Because you're going through. I mean, maybe you've sorted it out, but I mean, every farm goes through it.
No, for sure. Like in the throes, and like so. I mean, every family is different, and Patti, you can jump in anytime. Every family is different. Every dynamic is different, but almost every conversation. So I run two corporations, right? I have Burr Forest Group, which is putting this podcast together and does a bunch of other things, and I have Burr Forest Acres, which is the farm, and that's where I farm with my parents, and like it's fraught. Every business decision that I come to my parents with is in my own head, maybe more so, but is just kind of is passed through a series of filters of like, well, how does this reflect on me as a person? Am I going to be judged for this? Am I not doing well enough for the family business? All these things. So it becomes very, very complicated, and it gets really muddy in my head before I even have the conversation. So whereas Burr Forest Group, it's pretty simple. It's business. These are business questions and answers, and I don't have that dynamic. It's quite, it's quite challenging, and you have a whole like childhood, and you have a whole history that's brought into these conversations, right? You have like your hierarchy in the family, your pecking order, your relationship with your siblings. Everything is brought into almost every communication I have with my parents, even when it's related to just strictly business stuff, and vice versa, right? So when they come, and I can't speak for them, I'm not in their heads, but I can only imagine that gets filtered through what they know of me from a 5-year-old who cried until he got rollerblades, or whatever it is, right?
So Patti kind of touched on that.
Yeah,
I mean, just this, Patti, you talked about one of the common universal challenges is that the children or the next generation assumes the parents have a plan, and often maybe the parents don't have a plan, but the next generation expects them to, and maybe that's part of the dynamic that Toban was just describing.
Truly, we have this trust in our parents that they will support and take care of us, and they have that inherent obligation or sensation that that's their responsibility. And so that's where that intersection of family and business gets complicated and sticky. And so as you were talking, Tobin, a favorite saying of mine is it was Elizabeth Gilbert who wrote it. Our family knows how to push our buttons because they installed them.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like, holy moly, isn't that the truth? And so you could have so if this is challenging for you, like you communicate professionally, right? Like you have training and pieces of the puzzle, but we can't undo, some of those tracks that were laid down, or those things that we might trip on. And I can think of a situation where, I can't do this within my own family, not because I don't care, but because I have too much skin in the game. I have inherent biases and, old buttons that get pushed. And so, oh gosh, yeah, it's, and I feel like the risk is that it sounds like I'm saying that parents are irresponsible in this. And I don't believe they are. I think they're doing their best.
No,
and I think everybody in general is.
Yeah, I hear
but
that.
They somehow imagine they'll be able to figure it out. And it has layers of complexity and long-term impact that it takes time and conversation. And if that never starts, or if it's not safe to do so, man, oh man, it makes sense that it's been delayed, or it's been challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. Your point about the exiting generation being used to doing things themselves and micromanaging and it was a good one, for many farms. It's all that exiting generation knows, right? They haven't known how to kind of work in a partnership or work with other people. They've always just done it themselves. So to have a new generation coming in and wanting to kind of co-run one business or co-run a farm with two different corps, or however the structure is challenging. I mean, that's our situation, right? We're two corps, we're one farm, but it's not easy. Like that's a challenge, because we're both not used to it, right? I'm getting more used to it through Burr Forest Group because I work with a variety of people and people who have of course, good ideas, and they bring things forward. So that's been a really, really great thing for me. Whereas I think my dad or my parents, they're not used to that. They've never done it that way. It's always been their way or the highway, really. So that's
and to the point, actually, their way, and in many instances, this generation also survived the 80s.
For sure.
Honestly.
Yes.
They kept the wheels on, they kept the lights on, and made deep sacrifices to do so.
Yeah.
And have remaining anxiety, concern, fear. They know how bad it can be. And so that layer shows up as distrust. It shows up as we don't think you're capable, actually, right? Like that, and that message from your parent that's supposed to be encouraging you, but you want to honor and respect them. Oof, like that's tough.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah.
So I also want to flip this over, though, because I am an eternal optimist, and I know that this community, this agricultural industry, is so good. When there is a good idea, they adopt it quickly, like really quick to adopt. And we think about all the technologies, and I really believe that this ability to communicate the language around openness, around trusting good intent, around seeking help and support, all of those things. I know this is possible, and I care deeply to change the story, because, man, we'll be unstoppable.
How do you talked about the three-legged stool and that communications leg being so short. What's a quick first step? Again, I talk about things being quick and easy, and they're not. I know, I do know that. But how do we extend that leg?
I personally am a huge advocate, and Jay, I know you've heard me talk about this, is the pause. So when you are communicating and it's something that is difficult or has potential to be misinterpreted or is volatile, is this the right communication platform to use? Is this a text? Is this a group message? Is this a phone call? Do I need to get in my vehicle and drive over and speak to this person and make sure that there is absolute clarity of what I'm trying to say? And in fact, I also am a believer in the practice of pre-scripting.
Mm.
So when it's something that I know that I'm sensitive about and I'm anxious, and when I'm anxious, I know my words do not come as easily, I literally will write it out, and I will like walk over and I'll be like, so Tobin, I have something that's really hard for me to say. And so I've written it out so that I can ensure that I am caring and respectful in how I deliver it. And interestingly, when you do that, the other person sees the care you've put into it and all of a sudden is cheering for you.
Right.
They see that you have, you know, that relationship in mind. And so in the book, like in The Future Leader, the book that I wrote, in one of the appendices is scripts you can build on. Not that you have to say it a specific way, but here's how this could sound. Here's how this volatile conversation that you're concerned about, here's how you might approach it. Make it your own, but know that it's reasonable you'd want to prepare.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I just face-to-face conversations, but starting with something you've written down because it's too hard for you to say, or it'll come across with too much emotion or something. But if you start with a written statement or a written sentence on your thoughts or feelings or needs, and then building from there, I think that's a great in to a challenging conversation. I like that tip.
I mean, here's a question. Sorry, Jay, I'm interrupting your momentum
no
here.
Problem.
But do you have any advice for, like, let's say, the entering generation, the successor is wanting to have a discussion with the exiting generation about something business related, but the challenge is, and I mean, I can make this very personal too, and I'm fine doing so, is that I bring all of this fraughtness into every conversation. Like I overthink it essentially, as opposed to, like, it could be just a very kind of basic chat, but I bring all of this kind of, like, childhood, and then I'm already anticipating what what my parents are going to say, and like that, and then it just becomes so big before it even happens that in some cases, I imagine in many cases for our listeners, it doesn't happen then. It just becomes too big before it even began. And so do you see that? And do you have any advice for that kind of situation?
Completely. And I would say I experience it myself. Like I can make up a good story with the rest of us.
Sure.
My brain goes to unhelpful places too. And just know that our brains are not always our friends in terms of it is a risk protection mechanism that is old. Like it's what protected us from, bear attacks or lions or tigers or whatever war we happen to be in. So it's that heightened protection that we think about all the possible scenarios. But so I would say there's a couple things. Number one, I really like asking myself the question, is this true? How do I know it's true? And that would come back from, there's an author, Byron Katie, called Loving What Is, which deeply insightful kind of reflective process to just unpack that and interrupt it. Talking with a trusted peer or a mentor or a coach or, someone else outside of it that doesn't have that skin in the game, and saying, like, hey, like, this is where I'm at right now. Like, can we talk this out? So the one pause I would say is that if you only ever do that without engaging with the person you have that actually has control over the situation or has an opportunity to impact it, that's just gossip.
Right.
So certainly vent and unpack it in preparation for the conversation is what I would encourage. And I would say I support several people. Like I have people that, hey, Patti, can I just talk this through? Absolutely. Let's go.
Yeah.
I think we can often help each other.
Yeah, that's great.
You said in the notes that we were given that, and you said it in the conversation here as well, that you've talked with at least 400 farm families, but it gets emotional for you. Like how, so is that your nature, or is that this the nature of that whole sector of the business where advisors become emotionally attached and it can be really heavy?
Yes. So first of all, in the process of building the muscle and the repetition of this work that I've done, I am deeply empathic and my radar is right up. and I will pull emotions and feelings and senses from the room. And one example I will say is when flights were first allowed post-COVID, my husband and I were flying to the Maritimes for a wedding, and we're in the Toronto airport, and I mean, like hundreds of flights have been delayed. It was and I walked in and I could have touched the air. I could just feel the angst and the anger and the frustration and the sadness and the grief.
Mm.
And so I really have to watch that. I know how much I pick it up. And if I'm not protecting myself and limiting how much I do this, it's really hard on my heart, like emotionally. And so like I have all types of Post-it notes on my monitor in front of me right now. And one of them that I think it's long fallen off, but I think about it often is, I will help if I can, but I can't always help. In this work, sometimes you feel like you're their only hope. And they say that.
Right. Yes.
Right. And so I'm like, nope, like I'm not saving babies here. This is not life or death generally. I mean, certainly there's vulnerability of mental wellness, but and they've waited 20 years for this conversation. They probably can wait another few months, like that type of response of how urgent is this? And how will I be able to show up well? And I only have one me.
Yeah.
And I believe that I've been entrusted with specific gifts that can be very helpful, but only if I manage them and care for myself.
I like, I just heard you present a few weeks ago, and you used the phrase, the answer is in the room. And I think, so you come into these conversations as a facilitator, you have experience, you know where, the right questions to ask, and you know when to pause. but I like that statement, the answers in the room, knowing that like this group of people that we're meeting with, I mean, kind of where we want to go. We can together as a team, we can find the answer. But you as a facilitator aren't necessarily bringing them the answer. You're helping them. And does that the answers in the room, does that work in these conversations as well?
That's very much one of the foundational things I really believe. And it kind of goes hand in hand with like, my opinion's irrelevant. I can give you some suggestions. I can help you question your assumptions, but my preference, pardon me, my preference is not the point. Yeah. And I can be vulnerable to that, because I can be watching something and I'm like, oh boy, like I very much disagree with this, but unless it's like illegal or immoral, again, my opinion's irrelevant.
Yeah. Do you sometimes hold your head in your hands like you just did there? Is that the body language that you sometimes just comes spontaneously?
I would say I don't lose my cool very often.
Yeah.
But sometimes the baby's ugly and nobody is saying it and someone needs to say it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that I am serving them if I am not. So I'll go back to that gentleman who's like, yeah, I'm here because I was told to be here. Listen, buddy.
Yeah.
I want to be super respectful to you, but I'm going to challenge what you were setting up right now in terms of the vulnerability of the next generation and your lack of equipping them to do anything about it.
Mm. Yeah. Well, that's good.
But it's respectful. It's such a line to walk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No kidding.
Yeah. And that's why you're excelling in this business where others aren't. But we do want to talk about some communication tips in general, because obviously your work is with families for the most part, but I jotted down some things that you say make for effective communications. So you like analogies, you like simple, powerful graphics, and in the presentation that I saw you make, you did what you said you like to do by making simple slides that are like not a lot of words, but images that tell a story. And I'm just thinking about that yelling, and maybe the 69-year-old farmer who was like the ugly baby. Maybe, but I mean, you had that picture of this yelling, like really like angry yelling face.
Yes.
And
Yes.
for some reason, that one has stuck with me. But I mean, it demonstrates, how a conversation can go. And I think I'm not saying you do slideshows when you're doing these coaching scenarios, but I mean, how do you use these new tips? And I think you're always looking for new ways to start conversations. So tell me why you like analogies, why keeping it simple is so important.
I want people to be able to internalize it and remember it. And so I love language when something says something perfectly. And so I already gave an example. I carry around quotes in my pocket, like that I pull out. I'm like, this is what this means, and people get it. So even calling things an ugly baby, people get it like right now.
Yeah.
And pushing our buttons and those types of things. And sometimes I also I've experienced where they're just not getting it. Like subtleties aren't working and other like just straight language isn't working. So like, here's this analogy. And so, and I also will often give credit to, I'm like, I heard this analogy over here. I love it. This makes a lot of sense. I one gentleman who had established a business and it was massive. And he's like, oh, like for tax purposes, set up another company. His son's the owner of the company, all this stuff or whatever. His son was quite young at the time. And no shareholders agreements, no specifics about responsibility, nothing with regards to the son being in a relationship. There was a common law. Like there was a lot of just red flags of vulnerability. And I was trying to explain it to him. He's like, what's the big deal? Like, it'll be fine. I'm like, okay, I want you to close your eyes. He's like, okay. I said, you're walking down a hospital hallway. Okay. I said, you're wearing one of those gowns. Got it. Guess what's hanging out the back? And he went, oh.
Yeah.
We can just be like so proud and everything's good, but like we're vulnerable. We have exposed skin.
Yeah.
And it can come back and bite us. And it's not to be like negative or wishing for the worst, but let's be real about just how vulnerable we can be in some situations. So that analogy was particularly powerful, and I've certainly used it since.
You said you have phrases in your pocket that you like to pull out. Do you have one in your pocket right now?
Oh gosh.
I have one. Do you want me to start?
Sure, have at her.
So I do the crypto quote in the free press every once in a while. Those things are fun.
Oh, nice.
You know what I'm talking about. So one of them was, we are all just walking each other home. And it was by this person named Ram Dass. And I just love that. I mean, I actually did a little drawing from my door in my apartment that had that saying on it. And it's just a way, like, just to remind that we need to look out for each other. And even within a family farm, we're all just walking each other home. I don't know. It really struck a chord with me. So I have that one in my pocket that I bring out.
Oh, I like that very much. Yeah. I like that very much. I think sometimes I think about it more. Oh gosh, you know what? All I have to do is look in front of me because I have them in my monitor.
Oh, perfect.
So this is what growth feels like.
Oh yeah.
Discomfort, pain, the things we want to avoid, the things that are hard.
This is what growth feels like. Yeah.
Take the good times slow. People talk about knowing, I wish I knew those were the good old days. We're in them.
Yeah.
And just be present and soak it up. And then the other one that is presently there is success leaves clues. And so when
I want to know more about that one.
Yeah,
so success leaves clues.
All right, when I'm working with a family, I will tell them throughout my conversation. I will tell them that I will note, like in midstream, I will note green flags and red flags. So green flag. We've had a conversation that included our non-farming children, and they understand how we're approaching this. Awesome. Red flag. That corporation was set up without any shareholders agreements, and it's a different owner, and there's no nuptial requirements, for example. And I mean, that's its own bag of cats in terms of that can be a volatile topic, but there can be some proactive family policies that are in the best interest for everybody involved, including whoever married into the family, and thinking about the business going long term. So I just, as I'm going and because in a family session, frequently we're talking about like a 2 to 3 hour session. There's only so much teaching I can do. I do think about what I do is a lot of education. Here's what you want to be considering. I'm not going to be directive, but I'm going to be, have you considered this? I know enough to know you should ask this. Here's something, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a financial planner, I'm not a counselor, I'm not like, I'm a generalist. And so I want to equip them to ask good questions. And the green flags and red flags are ways to encourage them or caution them, for example.
The analogies. Yeah.
That's good. I like, what's on my monitor right now is my password for the computer, because our podcast producer needs it. Anyway,
Love it.
I won't say it out loud right now. But
what's your social insurance number?
Yeah. So,
what's your mother's maiden name?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
It's Clausen.
What? You told me that. Now I'm
did.
going to be able to break into all your...
Nothing I have is Clausen, just so you know.
Okay.
But it might be a security question, I guess. I guess I shouldn't have said that. No, it's fair. I don't know. So I think you're chatting about like communications and extension.
Yeah.
And I just want to like emphasize, and Patti, this is preaching to the choir here, because this is your world, but like how important that communications piece is in a family business. We're talking about farming businesses, especially, even for extension. Like, I feel like as part of an effective extension program, we should talk a little bit about, like, at least pay some sort of homage to that, because so many farms are at some stage in that, and whatever stage they are in that process will kind of manifest in how willing they are to actually receive information from an agronomist, or where they get their information from. I think it's much more foundational than we know, like, or than lots of people realize. Like, it's not just an element of ag. Like, I think it's huge. It's where farmers' heads are at, and the effectiveness of the communication in a business is massive. I have a theory, and Patti, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free to. That a ton of innovation, like agricultural innovation, kind of sits in limbo between the exiting and entering generation. And if the analogy or the specifically would be me as an incoming farmer, whatever, mid to late 40s, but still that, and an exiting generation. Entering generation has a lot of ideas for what farming 2.0 is going to look like for them when they can do it. And so, like you said, that exiting generation doesn't always leave very quickly. So a lot of that just waits. It sits there and it waits, and it's in stasis. And I think, I know that I've seen it in other farms. I've seen it a lot, where these are my hopes and dreams for when I can execute. And that might be never, or it might be 2 decades or whatever. But I think there's a lot there. You have a current snapshot of what ag innovation looks like, and then you have a snapshot of farms and businesses being able to receive and use that information, and those two are not aligned. Anyway.
Yeah, no, you know what? I would say that I would agree with it in terms of a percentage of the farms, but I would be able to provide as many examples where that actually is something that they're doing. Great. And that they are, quick to adopt, or in fact, the senior generation is the one who's quick to adopt, and the next generation is more conservative in their preferences. And so I'm always I try not to make that assumption coming in, because just when I think like, oh, like this is as much as I said, I've seen patterns, or some things I'm like, oh, this is a thing. I'm like, actually it's not consistent. It's kind of all over the map, and there's human preference in there. I want to go back to something you said about advisors. I think one thing that comes in terms of communication, I have become very keenly aware that advisors, even on the fringe of anything transition or succession related, so agronomists would be an example, or lenders kind of can be on the fringe at times. There's various people in different capacities. They might fail to acknowledge the level of influence that their language has on this. So if you have a group of advisors that are kind of like on the fence, you're like, oh yeah, transitions are really hard. Hey, oof. Yeah, you're probably going to pay a lot of taxes. Hey, like just flippantly commenting about something they really don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Unhelpfully in a way that is actually discouraging instead of empowering does damage.
I like that.
And
that's a good point.
And I think a lot about that. I'm like, I would love to, and it's actually one of my projects I'm working on right now is like, how might we equip any advisor to be a positive voice in what the family is going through? Because you also commented on where, if they've started or wherever they are, something that has been another realization, every farm is in transition. Every single family business is in transition. It's just whether or not they're actively thinking about vocalizing and planning for the future. And so when families say, I sit down with them, they're like, well, we need to start. I'm like, well, you're in it. You actually have a successor who's been involved. You're working on operational training. You're understanding some role clarity. You're figuring out some of the finances and those types of things. So they think that they haven't started yet, but in fact, they've checked several boxes. And so somehow that is a way to encourage them as well and say, okay, yes, but over here, there's some gaps you probably want to start filling. And here's how you might do that. And here's the order that it probably matters. That can also get them that can also be stalling for them at times when they're not sure where to start.
I really like that, Patti, what you said about advisors. And it makes me think of even just, like when Jay and I do, our effective extension stuff, where we talk to people to be more cognizant of what we say when because I'm often super flippant about transition planning, right? I say it's fraught. I say it's challenging, like what you said. And I think, because I agree with you, how we talk about it influences how it's done or how it's perceived, or are we adding that? Are we foisting an unnecessary layer or onto something, right? And
or putting some kindling to the thing that's already burning and really not in a helpful way.
Yeah.
I mean, Patti, there's a perfect example where you actually flagged that in me. So I presented after you at this Alberta Canola Leaders event, and I had just one slide about social media. You'll remember this. And I was kind of on in a sort of a sour space with regard to social media. And I said, I'm probably not the right person to be telling you about social media, and then I went blah, blah, blah. And then the next day you came back to me and said, Jay, you know what? I've been thinking about that. Remember when you said you weren't, you probably shouldn't be talking about social media? You said and then you said, you're right, which I think is hilarious. So ever since then, I've been borrowing two of your thoughts. Yes, good. I shouldn't be sort of projecting my thoughts about social media, and then I've been using the answers in the room. So whenever I talk about social media now, I say, just like, okay, how do people use social media? What are you using it for? Why is that important for you? And then I just have sort of the social media as a communications tool kind of come out of the conversation in the room, and it's way more effective. So I really appreciate you. And if you bring that same sort of insight and sort of just, you'll push people, you'll when the time is right to push them to think things in different ways. And but if you recall, I was also gentle. You were so gentle.
So I waited 24 hours.
You don't have to be gentle for
sure. Yeah. Probably more, because I had that instinct right away. But I also know enough to know. I'm like, no, like I know when someone, especially when they just come off stage, that's not the time to coach them. The message is, that was great, good job. That's what they have capacity for, because there's lots of adrenaline and stuff like that. Yeah. But I also approached you and I said, Jay, I have something that's kind of hard for me to say. Do you have capacity to hear it right now?
And I guess I did.
Did you ask him that?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
cool.
You already knew enough to know that my intentions were good, but also I want like sometimes, like, who knows, maybe I had a headache that day. Maybe
Sure.
you just got some bad news in a text. Maybe, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's, I believe that there's an opportunity how we care and repair,
Yeah.
how we intentionally, because otherwise we're just leaving a trail of chaos on our path.
Yeah.
Like, so I genuinely try to walk the talk, and I commend you for being open to it. Not everybody is.
Yeah.
And but that's how we help each other. And so thanks for acknowledging and for hearing me, because but that's a beautiful example. We have our own little opinions about stuff. And I do think about the narrative around transition planning, specifically monetizing the services associated with it. So historically, it has been a mechanism of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. If you don't use my services, you could lose your farm, you could lose your family, you could pay a lot of taxes. And so the idea is it's to motivate action through fear. There was a ton of research psychologically that is the crappiest motivator ever. It is
Fear.
it induces paralysis, it induces inaction. So my thought is, what if we flipped it over and said, your transition plan is important, but only you can do it. How might I support you?
Yeah.
And this level of trying to sell it to create a dependence, like, you can't do this without me, to only you can do this. It's a completely different mindset. And man, these farm families, these are powerful, smart people. They know they have figured out so many things just as hard as this. I know they can do it. And it's not a matter of pandering or trying to make it smaller than it is, because it's complex, it takes work. But man, like, it's so worth it. It's this beautiful process that they get to put their arms around and witness their next generation rising to the occasion. Yeah. And I have another line, actually, as a farmer that said this, and I love this line. He said, speaking about the senior partner, about the founder, he said, he wants to crawl and I want to run, and we're learning to walk together.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
As we get close to the end, I really want to take this to like that granular, like, farm family level. Is there a collection, like a summary of kind of communications tips that you would have for farm families?
So thinking back to Jay's comment about that image that I have about this man who's clearly fully hijacked, like, he is a temper. He looks like he's gonna bite someone. Like, you could just see this anger in his face. Number one, when you are feeling that hijack, and sometimes it shows up as anger, sometimes it shows up as tears, sometimes it shows up as fear or storming away, whatever that is. If we ourselves can recognize it and say, this is super important, but I need a timeout, because nothing good comes from those conversations. Nothing. It will never go well. There's no fruitful outcome, in my experience, and from a lot of research and other people I've explored this with. So if we can insert the pause so that we can de-escalate, calm down our systems so that we can have a reasonable conversation. Now, it's not time out and never go back again. It's time out and circle back. 20 minutes would be the minimum. 24 hours is better to process, to think about, and to be able to love each other, to care for each other.
Would that be a situation where you might, if you're that angry, write it down? And like, I just going back to that example and just say, okay, I was so mad. This made me so mad, and I needed to take a time out. This is what I wanted to say, and I'm going to write it down because this is the only way I can deliver it in a calm way.
I just got chills, Jay. Thank you. Bang on. Beautiful example. And again, it's connecting those dots. Like, these are simple things, which I would say people might look at and go, well, that's stupid. Why did I write it out? Like, we could just resist and say, oh, it's so simple. Really? How's it going?
Yeah.
If it's so simple, why isn't it happening?
How's that working out for you? I find that line isn't very helpful.
Right?
it's a bit patronizing.
The other thing I think about for families is, are we listening at all? We got to turn off the screens. We got to put down the phones. We got to mute them, silence them, go into a different room. That's like, we are so distracted. And I mean, I've been guilty of it too, with someone's like talking to me and I'm on my phone, like, come on.
Yeah.
It's literally impossible to divide our attention that way. Our brains are capable of amazing things, but that's not one of them. So that'd be one thing. Stonewalling, I kind of refer to that as in terms of like shutting it down and walking away. I would challenge people, stay in the discomfort and say, this is really uncomfortable for me. I actually don't have a plan for the future and it stresses me out. But, saying I don't know counts, which is tricky for parents who've been like in an authoritative state for a long time and have that desire to prove they've got it figured out, It kind of goes back to choosing the right media, but technology gremlins. Like, just know that you send the wrong text to the wrong person, it gets auto-corrected. I once texted a client and asked him what his birth rate was. Thankfully, he has a great sense of humor because he responded, I've only been born once, but I'll let you know if it happens again.
Yeah, that could have gone sideways. Yeah.
Well, I think it's like, that's a little example of like, we're just trying to do this stuff so fast. And if you are writing a text and you find yourself having to rewrite it a few times, that should be a flag that this is probably an in-person conversation that you might need a script for.
So Patti, when you agreed to come on this podcast, and we're so happy to have you, and we, I mean, you've lived this now for a lot of years and could talk forever, but was there something you really wanted to get across?
I think that we hit the nail on the head, and I think about these things often, that number one, these are smart, intelligent, caring people who've never done this before.
Yeah.
And so helping them to navigate that then translates to the responsibility of us as extensionists and the mindset and language we're choosing to use that may be making something that is already difficult worse. If we can take ownership of that and think more deeply about what that could look like, I know that these people, they got this, and I will be their biggest cheerleader every time.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Have you ever used the word extensionists before that moment?
Oh, I have another question.
Well,
Sorry. Go ahead.
As a result of this, of your podcast, certainly, and having attended the Carey conference in Guelph in October, like I personally wasn't sure if I should be in that room. Like I was thinking about, like, am I actually an extensionist? Because in my mind, extension is the free services. But I think, as you and I have talked about, all of these roles have a level of educator attached to them. And are we acknowledging that? Are we acknowledging that we have an opportunity to shine a light and provide clarity of understanding and increase the competency and therefore increase the decision-making muscle for all of the individuals in the industry? It can be a game changer. And are we actually putting our arms around it and owning that responsibility?
So on a much more serious note, what role does alcohol play in family business communications?
Oh my gosh. It's one of the factors, right?
Sure.
So things that are self-soothing, right? So whether that's some level of addiction from a substance abuse or a temper and blow-ups.
Yeah.
Like, gosh, people just tell me, they're like, that's just how I am. Did you know you have control over that?
Yeah.
Did you know that it's actually an active choice? But they tend to be repeating what they've been exposed to and what they know. And the soothing also can go to the screen time, right? Doom scrolling can be super soothing, and that's okay, but everything in moderation. Oh, I had one line that was from a workshop I did years ago, which kind of struck a chord with me, is that in a family meeting, no booze and no booze. And so booze, BOOS, like don't poo others' ideas.
Yeah.
And booze, BOOZE, alcohol is probably not going to serve us particularly well. and it may impair judgment or remove inhibitions, and so there's going to be some vulnerabilities there in what is already complex.
I know we gotta wrap up right away, but I do like the analogy, and you said it. I wrote down pain cave. I don't think you said pain cave, but I've been watching lots of like running marathoners and ultra marathoners. Jay's heard this. You talk about this.
That's okay. I enjoy it.
But the phrase pain cave is like you embrace it, right? Like you get to that point where you just hurt. Like you're on like mile, whatever it is, and everything just hurts. And there's the discussion, the narrative is how to kind of work with it, how to kind of like you embrace it, you welcome it, you said something that made me think of it in these conversations, because they're often very uncomfortable, right? You often kind of get to that point, and to not run away from it, not to shy away from the discomfort, but find ways to engage with it, to embrace it, to recognize it, and work through it. I think that's
absolutely.
I think that's important.
I would also say often this is really fun.
Sure.
This is entertaining. This is visionary. This is curious, and like you learn things about your family that you never, like the people in the room, that the number of times I'm sitting across from someone and they're like, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
they'll comment about to their sibling or their parent or whatever. Like that's the goal.
See it as opportunity, almost. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like, how lucky are we? And to fail to put our arms around it, and even when it's going to be difficult. I have never seen this industry shy away from difficult things. Why would they shy away from this? This is right for the picking.
Patti, thank you so much.
Yeah,
my pleasure, truly.
Hopefully we see each other again soon. Once again, thank you to our episode sponsor, Manitoba Pulse and Soybean Growers, who are urging you to prepare for the upcoming growing season by checking out their latest fact sheets for growing field pea, dry bean, soybean, and even new crop introductions such as faba bean and lupin.
These fact sheets provide important information for managing weeds, insects, and diseases in all annual legume crops. Visit manitobapulse.ca to find them.
Well, Toban, that was a lot of fun. We didn't even get really to talk about her book very much, but Patti has a book.
I could have hijacked that whole conversation.
Yeah, because I like hearing about your personal experiences in that regard, because I think
so insincere. Oh yeah, I really like hearing about all your personal stuff. Yeah, thanks. Jay.
Well, I do, because it's important to ground all of this in reality. And because I can't really, I'm part of a farm family by extension, but I'm not actively involved. But you are. Yeah. Okay. So Patti's got a book called The Future Leader, and I was I'm helping out with one of these classes at the University of Manitoba, and they were talking about giving this book, or encouraging all of their students at the University of Manitoba School of Agriculture to buy The Future Leader. And Patti was just saying at the end of our conversation, which maybe won't make the final cut for the podcast, but that it's incorporated into 4 of the classes they have there. So, yeah.
Have you read it?
I'm reading it.
Oh,
Look,
nice.
I have a bookmark.
Oh, there you go. Some proof. I like that. I like that.
And so she writes it based on conversations between 2 people, Jordan and Kelly. And so they kind of work through all of these scenarios, sort of chapter by chapter. And it's Jordan saying, "Oh, I've got to do this," and Kelly giving advice on what to think about. So it's very well structured, and it's easy to absorb the message. So.
Have you heard from students? Are they like
on this?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. No,
Okay.
because I just heard about this like after the class was done.
Oh yeah.
It was at the end of the season wrap up meeting for the instructors, and this came up then. So it would have been nice to have talked about that with the students while they were in the middle of it, but no, it came too late. So I'll have to do that next year.
What a treasure trove of information though, like having engaged with over 400 families. Like what kind of information you would have, right? You'd have a lot of insight.
Yeah.
It's just, I think about, it's a fascinating one, and it's complicated.
Yeah.
Like
and
she's in the throes of it.
I can see people being annoyed when I asked, why is it? It seems so easy.
Why
don't people do it? But I just I'm
glad you asked.
Starting let's get this started. And I'm not saying the process is easy, but so many farm families or any business family struggles to start that conversation. And I think one of Patty's closing points was start it early.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe like as soon as these 19, 20-year-olds are coming out of university, 22-year-olds and going to the farm, let's have that conversation that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I'm very glad you asked the question. I would poke fun at you for asking it, but it was it was a great starting point for talking about how important it is and how complicated it is for some families. I mean, lots of farm operations don't last through those conversations. Like they fizzle out, and like I have a friend who tried, couldn't do it. The family, they even brought in outside help, and it just didn't work.
I remember one farmer told me recently that, and it seemed like a decent operation, that they're headed towards disaster because for that exact reason, they couldn't talk about the succession plan. The business itself was running along fine, but there was a tension within the family. Yeah, and that's not necessarily unique, but this communication. I mean, we're in the thick of it.
Sure,
it is so important. Yeah, I mean, not necessarily.
I know. What?
Anyway, yes.
It is
my concluding point. Communication is important.
No, but I liked it. I really. Again, I'm making fun of you for a good point. But I really liked how she said what she said about advisors and how they talk about transition planning, succession planning, and like how that might influence. If you're always just joking about how stressful it is, or the tax implications, or these kinds of things, like you might be embedding anxieties in someone that weren't there before, or fueling ones that were only small. Yeah. Right.
But what was that? Success is, what was that line? Oh no. But anyway, my point is that the process could actually be fun and really encouraging, and sort of shines a light on the future that might get everyone really excited.
Yeah.
And so it's one of these conversations that, maybe you're reluctant to have them, but once you're having them, you're thinking, yes.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
We're building towards something here.
I do like that. It was like two ways of looking at it, right? So you have the one way which is just, or at least it can be daunting, can be like, oh, but the other way is, it's opportunity. It's potential. It's kind of frontier like perspective. Was it the success leaves clues quote? Was that your
success leaves clues? Yeah.
Anyways, that was great, Patti. Wonderful guest.
This has been the Extensionists podcast. I'm Jay Whetter.
And I'm Toban Dyck.
Till next time. This has been a Burr Forest Group production.
Jay, did you know that the podcast couldn't happen with the hard work of the people behind the scenes?
And I've got their names right here. They are Abby Wall, producer and editor, Ashley Robinson, researcher, and Michelle McMullen, marketer.